Welcome to Datashare demo. So in Datashare, you can share the data within the namespaces also. Namespace is nothing but it's a collection of your tables, schemas, and all the database objects. But to better understand this thing, I created a whole new AWS account and I gave the name as producer. And if you see, it ends with the 9441. In the same AWS account, I spun up another serverless, and in the serverless, I loaded a new data. So if you see, this is the query editor for my producer account. In the producer account, I created this line item table, which we have already created when we are doing the copy command. And in the table section, we just see one table. So that's what I have done so far. So in this producer account, the table which is created, I'm going to do the data share with our other account where we are actually doing all of the Redshift Masterclass labs. So this table is already created and I do have this data available. Now let's go and start creating the data share. So the way anything works, we need to create the data share first. So we create the database, then schema, and then table. So in order to do this thing with the data share, we have to follow the same steps. But before we do that, I'll just want to show you one thing, that if you go to this data share section over here, you can see all the data share which has been shared with your account or you have created. So it's in my account or it's from the other account where your data share has been shared. Right now, it does not have anything because nothing is shared with this cluster and this cluster has not shared anything with the other cluster. So let's go ahead and create one. So I'm going back to the query editor v2. You can run the select namespace. This is just for the education purpose. These are the namespace we can use if we are sharing the data across the namespace. We are going to use the account, so we don't need to use the namespace. Standard syntax over here to create the data share. So we give the name as data spark share and we are making it the publicly accessible. So let's go ahead and create this one. So if you see, our command ran successfully and the data share is created. Now what we're doing in this data share, you have to add the schema and you have to add the table. So now your data share is created. We are going to add the schema public. Adding schema does not add the table. So you have to deliberately add all the tables to the data share. Then only you can give the access to the consumer. So we created the data share. We added the schema public. Now in this public schema, we have only one table and we're going to add this table into our data share. And as a standard any DML language, we are going to alter data share and add the table. The table is added. There could be some use cases where you want to add multiple tables, and in those cases, you can use this kind of query where it will add all the tables to the data share. So the information schema and the tables has all the details about all the tables in your specific schema. If I run this query, it gives me the output which I want. So I can get all of this different output and I can run all the different alter commands for all the tables. I can run through loop using stored procedure, which we learned already, or I can run the multiple alter statement command. So this will add all the different tables to data share. In our case, we have only one table, so we don't need to do that, but I'm just showing you in case it needs to be added. For the data share, when the new table is created, it needs to be added to the data share. It doesn't get added automatically. So now let's go back to the data share. So far we created the data share, added the schema, added the table. Show data shares is the command which will give you all the details about the data share which is in your account. So right now it says there's a data share called data spark share, the producer account ID and the namespace and all of the details. You can also find the same details from the SVV data share objects, where it tells you what are the objects you have shared. So if you have added like 15 to 20 tables, in this system view will give you the details about all the objects which has been shared. In this one, the object type is schema and table. So this schema and this table is shared to the data share. Now what we need to do, the next step is to give the access. In our case, this is just an example where if you want to give it to any specific namespace within the same account, you can use it. In our case, we want to give access to a specific AWS account. So this is the AWS account ID where I'm going to give the data share access. So you can run this grant usage on data share, the name of the data share to account. So now I have given access to the consumer account to this data share. But before we go to the consumer account and verify it as given access, there is one more thing which we need to do, is we need to go back to this page. I'm going to refresh it. And if you see right now, in my account, it says there is one data set which has been created, but there is still some action required. So let's go and click on the data Spark share. It says I still need to authorize this data share on what kind of access I want to give. So we click on this one and we authorize. So that's another step. We always have to go and authorize this data share, where we are saying that for this data consumer ID, I am authorizing this data share. So let's go and authorize it. And when you authorize it, ask you what kind of access you want to give. You can give read only or read and write. For now, we'll just give the read only access because we're just trying to understand how you can share the data from AWS account to another account. And let's say authorize. So it has been authorized. So now all the setup from the producer account is done. So easy, right? We just created the table, created the data set, and authorized. So now in the next video, we will be logging into the consumer account, which is 9146, accept the data set, and we'll be running the query on the data set. So thank you very much for watching this video.